Hello children, how are you? I hope you all are doing well, studying well and taking a lot of interest in learning more about the geography of the earth. So children, like we are learning about the earth, we are learning also about the different zones of the earth, how the environment is divided on earth into different zones and what all things you find on earth. So now we are going to talk about another region, okay, a very important region on earth which is known as the Tundra region, okay. So we are going to talk about the location where it is, the climate, vegetation and wildlife and also about a human life, alright. So let's do a quick warm up. You have to identify the type of house and animals that are shown in the pictures given below and where are they found, okay. So these are the different images that you need to talk about, okay, or tell us, okay. I know it's an igloo, you have a seal and you have a cougar, okay. Now where do you find them and in which region? All right, but what do you see? Have you noticed something here? All these pictures? Yes, there is one thing that you need to notice is that all these things which are there, okay, what do they have around them? Right, they have the snow around them, okay. So the area between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole and between the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole. Now these areas, they are known as the polar regions. And which zone was that, children, of earth? Right, the frigid zone. So this region, it lies in the frigid zone, okay, or the tundra region. That frigid zone is also known as the tundra region. Now in this chapter, we will know about the tundra region, its location, climate and vegetation, wildlife and humans' life. So children, let's talk about this in more detail now. Let's move on to the location. As we said, it is in the frigid zone of the earth, okay, the tundra region. And this region, it lies between 66 and a half degrees north and 90 degrees north and 66 and a half degrees south and 90 degrees south, okay, which is on the extreme side, okay. Now this is from the equator, okay. Now there are three types of tundra, okay, Arctic tundra, alpine tundra and the Antarctic tundra, okay. So let's talk about the Arctic tundra. It is located in the far northern hemisphere, okay, Arctic Circle. The Antarctic tundra, it's in the Antarctica, okay, and the other sub-Antarctic islands like South Georgia and Kerguelen Islands, okay. Alpine tundra, it is located in mountains worldwide. So worldwide, wherever the mountains are, you will find this alpine tundra region, okay. Now how is the climate in these places, okay. As we know, it has very harsh winters and a cool summer. The average temperature is minus 28 degrees Celsius, okay. Now these regions, they experience winter and also summer. It is total darkness for 6 months at a stretch during the winter. So during the winter time, it is only dark for 6 months and there is continuous daylight for the next 6 months during the summer, okay. That means these areas, they have this extreme type of weather or climate wherein you have 6 months totally dark, okay, during the winters and 6 months totally bright, okay, with daylight for 6 months during the summer, okay. Now this region barely receives any light even in summer. That is why the temperature hardly rises. So that means we are talking about the light being there, okay, but not sunlight, okay. It is light, there is a daylight, but it's not a direct sunlight, okay. Now that is the reason why, okay, even in summers, okay, the temperature hardly rises, okay. This region also has very less rainfall. It experiences 5 to 15 inches of rainfall throughout the year. So the rainfall is also less, okay. Then they are also known as the cold deserts. The deeper parts of the soil, they remain frozen even in summer and is called permafrost. This layer can be 10 to 35 inches in depth. Okay. So, this region, it has very less rainfall, and because of less rainfall, it experiences 5 to 15 inches of rain, okay, throughout the year, and that is why they are also known as the cold deserts. Okay. Now, deeper part of the soil, it remains frozen even during the summer time. Okay. How will the ice melt if there is no sunlight? Okay, it will melt only when the sun rays fall on it, the heat comes from the sun. However, it is not there. That is the reason why it is very it is frozen throughout the year. All right. So, even during the summers, and that is the reason why it is known as the permafrost. Now, this permafrost which is there, that layer, it can be 10 to 35 inches in depth. The northern skies and the southern skies show a unique phenomenon, which is a display of natural light in the sky. They are called the aurora borealis and aurora australis respectively. So, they have certain lights that you can see in the sky, okay, which happens naturally. So, there are regions which are really very, very cold, okay, and over there in the sky you can see these auroras. Auroras are like, different colors of, like, as though somebody is playing with the laser beams out there, and those lights come into the sky. Okay, those are known as the aurora borealis and the aurora australis respectively. All right. Now, vegetation. The word tundra means treeless mountains. The permafrost does not allow any tree to grow here. When the snow melts during summer, lichens, moss and crowberry grow. Arctic flowers bloom during summer. So, there are certain areas where the snow does melt during the summer time, okay, and when it melts, okay, at that time you have lichens, moss and crowberry that grows. Arctic flowers bloom during summer. A dwarf willow tree can be seen growing here, okay. So, you have a willow tree, but it is a dwarf, it is a small one. All right. Now, what about the wildlife? Minimal wildlife is seen here. It is almost impossible for any form of wildlife to survive here. Some animals that live here are polar bears, walrus, lemmings, royal penguins, albatross, reindeers, ermine, musk ox, owls, Arctic foxes and seals. Okay. Now, polar bears, how can they survive? They can survive because they have a thick fur on their body, and that fur, it keeps their body warm. Okay. And they also have a thick layer of fat which is under their skin that gives them the warmth, and this fat is known as the blubber. They have webbed feet that help them to swim, and they hibernate during winter. That means they go into the winter sleep. That means they sleep for 6 months at a stretch. All right. Now, let's talk about, let's do this activity where you have to answer in short. Okay. Then you have to tell the location of tundra region, climate, animals found and the plants that grow. All right. Now, let's move on to the human life. Okay. Human population is very rare here because of the climatic condition. If animals cannot survive, do you think humans can survive? No. Okay. So, people living here, they are called the Eskimos. Okay. There are people, but very less. Okay. So, Samoyeds of Siberia, Yupik of Alaska, Inuit of Greenland, Koryaks of former USSR, Yakuts of Lena Basin are some of the people who live here. Since there is hardly any vegetation, people living here are non-vegetarians and they depend on animals for their nutrition. Okay. So, their diet, it consists of meats, okay, of reindeer, walrus, seal and fish. Their body is adapted to digest raw meat as cooking is difficult. So these people, they can eat even the raw meat of these animals, okay, because cooking gets a little difficult in these areas. They also consume high amount of fat and blubber to keep themselves warm. They also consume milk which they get from the reindeers. People, they live in igloos, okay, that's the house that they live in, okay. Now, the igloos, okay, they are what? They are nothing but they are the houses that are made of ice blocks, okay, inside which they live. Now, they also have wooden permanent houses, okay. So, in summer they shift to tents made of animal skin. They also make use of animal skin for clothing. So, because animal skin, okay, can keep them warmer than any other artificial method of clothing, okay. And they use kayaks for traveling because they have a lot of water around them from the melted snow, okay. Nowadays, motorboats are used for traveling. Salmon and shrimps are exported. Nuuk is the capital city of Greenland, and it is a well developed modern city, okay. You can take a picture of the look of the people who are living in these areas of Tundra region, okay. Reshuffle, you have to name the following, okay. And what are the new words we've learned in this chapter? Tundra, which is a region where trees are stunted, okay. And permafrost is the ground which is completely frozen, okay. Now, let's do a quick recall of this chapter, what we've learned, okay. We've spoken about the Tundra region which falls into the frigid zone, okay, of the earth, okay. We've seen that the region is between 66.5 degrees north and 90 degrees north, okay. In the northern hemisphere, 66.5 degrees south and at 90 degrees south in the southern hemisphere, okay. Average temperature goes to minus 28 degrees Celsius, okay. You have lichens, you have moss and crowberry that grow during the summertime, okay. And that is when there is a little bit of sunlight, and that's when the snow melts a little bit, okay. You do not have very high trees out here, okay. Animals like polar bear, walrus, reindeers, ermine, Arctic foxes and seals, they are found here. We all know that there is not much of a vegetation, and people over here are non-vegetarians, and they depend on they can also have the raw meat of the animals. They use the animal skin, okay, for clothing. They also live in igloos, okay. And then Samoyeds of Siberia, Inuits of Greenland, Yupiks of Alaska, Yakuts of Lena Basin, Koryaks of former USSR. They are some of the people who live in this area. Alright, so children, now quickly read this chapter because you need to do the back exercises. Alright children, get going.